show what it is that you're going to do, and then you do it. And so when they give money, then they often want to give money year after year after year. Some people will give money anonymously. They don't even want a tax write-off. They're just like, here's the money, take it. And other people, they want extensive reports. They want the tax receipt. And so that's the beauty of having the for-profit and the nonprofit, is that you'll have individuals who will give to either or both.
This show is brought to you in part by Collaboration Global. If you want to network and take your business to the next level while working with the most amazing like-minded people around the world, Collaboration Global is the place for you. I'm a member. I love it. If you would like to join one of their meetings and get introduced, scan the QR code now, and I will see you there.
Welcome to Global Socialpreneurs, a one-of-a-kind talk show showcasing expert social entrepreneurs. Learn their stories and their secrets to creating a sustainable impact. Now, here is your host, social entrepreneur Anne Scotland.
Welcome, welcome. I'm so glad to have all our viewers and listeners here today on Global Socialpreneurs. We're continuing our conversation with amazing guests about social entrepreneurship. And the purpose of this show is really to help people who aren't familiar with the concept, which is a lot of people, understand how their personal enterprises and entrepreneurships can be social entrepreneurships or social enterprises without a lot of difficulty, and all the pros to that. And when our guest today is going to give us some incredible examples of that, I absolutely can't wait. Before we begin, on whatever platform you're watching, if you would go ahead and give us a thumbs up or subscribe on the YouTube channel, would super help us and appreciate it. And if you know someone else who loves this kind of information, please share it, as well as any other guests you think who might be amazing on the show. So today's guest, I'm so excited to have met her, just met her recently, and she is a phenomenal human being. I love her energy and her spirit, and the work she's doing is really mind-blowing. She's from British Columbia, Canada, and this is Dr. Nicolette Richer, and she leads the Richer Health, which is a pioneering force in social entrepreneurship. Amazing. It's really a group of companies committed to giving back and transforming lives. And through their outreach programs, Richer Health empowers diverse communities, including youth, including low-income individuals, veterans, single moms, people with disabilities, BIPOC communities. Really, wow. By imparting invaluable knowledge, by reversing chronic disease using food as medicine. And Nicolette's mission, she says, really extends beyond profit. It's about catalyzing positive change and ensuring equitable access to life-changing health education for those who need it. And she is a for-profit social entrepreneur. So please help me welcome Nicolette.
Hello, welcome. Thanks for having me here today.
So excited to have you here on the show, Nicolette, and just thrilled to get to experience some of what you've been doing and share with others what's available with your resources and what you've created. So first of all, you're a social entrepreneur.
Yes, I am. Yeah, always have been, always will be.
Amazing. Well, and that leads me to my next question, which is, what first got you interested or aware about social entrepreneurship as opposed to nonprofits? And could you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I originally completed a program at our local university, a post-grad program called Building Sustainable Communities. And that, we really looked at all the pillars of sustainability. And, it was really about implementing, if you were envisioning a community, you couldn't just think about the highways. You couldn't think about just the buildings. You had to think about how people were living in the buildings. Were those people healthy? What air were they consuming? Is it polluted? Could single moms, ride their bikes to work? Everybody's promoting environmental, initiatives like riding a bike to work, but without often considering, well, there's single parents who have to get their kids in 4 different directions that morning before they go to work and maybe work 2 jobs. And so it really made us all think very, very differently about how you design communities. You have to consider all the pillars of sustainability, and so that's where it really all started for me. And so I knew that I could never work in a business that didn't also have those values as well, where you have to consider the economic. The economic pillars, the environmental pillars, the social pillars, and as well the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual health of the individuals living in those communities. And that's where I got started. And of course, I was sitting on many boards for different nonprofits and charities. So I was working on that side as well as running my own businesses. And there was really that struggle that I saw for nonprofits and charities to always try and find funding, and they're really at the mercy of government, whether the funding is available, or the economy, whether other for-profits could give them money. And then I was exposed to one charity in particular, Potluck Cafe Society, that they were like, no, we're not going to do it that way. They were going to be a for-profit with a nonprofit arm. And so that way they didn't have to be at the mercy of others to be able to be successful and serve their community at the same time.
I love that. And we're going to talk even more about that a little later, about how for-profits and nonprofits can work under one umbrella and create a greater impact all the way around, which is really exciting. So I just want our viewers to know I'm going to ask you about your flagship program, but also this woman has a lot of things she's involved in that you're going to be really interested in. So you're going to want to hear about all of them. So tell us about your primary focus right now as a social entrepreneur.
Right. So we are training individuals on how to learn the science and the art of reversing chronic disease. So we train health professionals, physicians, dietitians, naturopaths, and stay-at-home moms, and veterans who've healed themselves through our program. So we train them to be able to run their own business, teaching other people how to reverse their chronic diseases. So we're living in a world where it's actually, the CDC has announced that it's official. We are in an epidemic of chronic disease, diabetes, heart disease, mental health disorders, autoimmune disorders. And what that means is, as a global society, we are not functioning really at our truest potential, because we are attending doctor's appointments, paying thousands of dollars a month for medications for reversible chronic diseases. They're actually really easy to reverse. You can reverse diabetes in 7 days, have blood sugar levels back to normal. Meanwhile, people are struggling with these diseases, and we don't have enough individuals who have the knowledge that these chronic diseases are reversible. We have not been taught that by our physicians. We've not been taught that by a lot of nutritionists even, that don't know how to reverse chronic diseases. So we teach individuals how to build their own small business, teaching other people how to reverse diseases. Now,
wow. So what does that look like? You're building a small business to help other people reverse. So you're teaching, which is similar, because I'm a social entrepreneur that teaches social entrepreneurs and coaches other business people as well. So that's just really interesting, because I love the continuing snowball effect there.
Exactly. So I'll give you a prime example. So we have one individual who is a client. So he couldn't leave his bedroom as a young 22-year-old. He was an entrepreneur running a business, quite a successful business actually. But he developed, he suffered originally from depression, moved into anxiety, panic attack disorder, couldn't leave his bedroom for an entire year. 1 year, couldn't go outside. And his brother found us. His brother then enrolled him in our program to learn how to reverse his mental health conditions. So immediately reversed his mental health conditions. So when he was able to leave his bedroom, he did all of this through metabolic nutrition and detoxification. So once he understood the power of food to reverse chronic diseases, well, he then wanted to teach others. So then he signed up for our nutrition and detox coaching program to become a coach. So then he graduated, and then now he runs a beautiful, thriving, successful business, multiple businesses, in fact. One's called Mental Millennials. He has a podcast where he teaches men primarily, but all genders in their 20s, how to reverse their mental health conditions so they can then go on and start and launch their own businesses. And now he has a beautiful wellness center on, I think it's hundreds of acres of land in British Columbia, that it's a wellness center working with Indigenous communities as well, and elders. They work together to be able to teach this to their broader communities as well. So that's an example of taking somebody who's essentially on disability and moving them through so that they are a thriving, contributing member of society, helping others.
Wow. Wow. That is really incredible. So let's just talk for a minute about, while we're still talking about Richer Health, which is, reversing chronic disease, is offering education, school programs, and educating other people to educate, which is the real beauty that gets me excited about social entrepreneurship, because it is so much more of an intense education model in some ways, because it offers a for-profit result. So this young man is also able to make a living off of what he's doing and helping, hundreds of people as well. So tell us just a little bit more about how you finance and what's your business, what does your business plan look like for Richer Health?
Right. So we are a for-profit model for Richer Health, but we are also an enterprising nonprofit. So we have a charity on the side. So there are individuals who come to us that they're on, a really fixed budget. They cannot afford to take educational programs like the rest of us who are quite privileged can do. And so for them, they're on disability, they have chronic health conditions, they haven't been working for years and years, so they're not going to be able to pay for a 6-month training program like the one we offer through our for-profit. So our charity is able to fundraise, often through organizations that have graduated from our program, and then they give back to the charity, which is nice, but also huge organizations like Lululemon, Sage Natural Wellness. We have, oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of all of the sponsors. We have dozens of sponsors that contribute to our charity. They get a tax write-off, and then we're able to offset the price for our students that cannot afford our programs. So that way everybody wins. As the people who can pay, the people who cannot afford to pay, we can offer them a, substantial discount, scholarship. We offer that to, Black, Indigenous people of color that experience these chronic diseases at 4 to 8 times higher rates. So they'll never be able to close the health and equity gap that's existing right now unless they are able to take programs like ours at a discounted rate. And so and as well, we extend the timelines that they have to complete, because obviously if you're working with a single mom with 3 kids, who's just come out of an abusive relationship, she needs time to heal, but she also needs somebody who can, love her up and give her the time that she needs to be able to get through a program. And a lot of programs out there that are created by organizations that don't understand social entrepreneurship, they'll be like, no, you're in and out in 6 months, or you're in and out in 3 months. The program's cut off. You don't have access. We don't do that. We provide lifelong coaching to our clients.
Wow. So it's kind of a whole well-being approach, and not just, as you said, just like letting people go, okay, you learned this skill, goodbye, good luck, but actually sticking around longer. And let me ask you a little bit more about your sponsors. So how did you go about, because this is one of the big questions we also often get, of course, for the show and around social entrepreneurship. How did you go about securing those sponsors? And are they sponsoring the for-profit or the nonprofit?
Yeah, so we have companies that sponsor both. And for example, one of the things that everybody needs to be aware of, if you're going to go out there and ask people for money, understand that corporations' values. A lot of people don't take the time to do that. They just see a company that's making millions or billions and they're like, give me money, as though that they deserve it. No, you need to do the work. You need to see how your products, your services align with that company's. And you need to spell that out for them. You need to do the work. And then you also want to get to know the people in that organization that you're asking, who you're asking money from. And so when you do that, you get to see what their values are. You have a conversation. It's not fundraising, it's friend raising, a term that was introduced to me by a beautiful woman in California who does a lot of friend raising. And then from there, you really show what it is that you're going to do, and then you do it. And so when they give money, then they often want to give money year after year after year. So for example, Lululemon, they brought me on as an ambassador. They sponsor this program. Their goal is to help, a lot of what they do is all about equity and diversity and inclusion. And so, if I'm coming to them and that's not part of the values of my corporation, don't ask them for money, but they immediately saw that alignment. And so they give money. And when you do that, a lot of organizations, they don't want to have to vet companies year after year. So if you're aligned, they plan for a 3-year or 5-year partnership with them. And so that's what we did as well. And it's been a beautiful relationship. And I know you
Wow.
asked me a second part to that question. So remind me of what that was.
Yeah, no problem. No problem. Yes. So thank you. And I usually try not to ask 2-part questions, but yeah, very good answer on that. Very clear. Thank you. And then the second question was, how are particularly the larger sponsors, but any sponsors, are they sponsoring you through the for-profit or the nonprofit? Because
Right.
I know that both happens, and kind of helping people understand the difference and how to approach a company.
And that's a question you need to ask the company when you go and meet with them. Some people will give money anonymously. They don't even want a tax write-off. They're just like, here's the money, take it. And other people, they want extensive reports. They want the tax receipt. And so that's the beauty of having the for-profit and the nonprofit, is that you'll have individuals who will give to either or both. And so, but it's a question you need to ask the organization, why are they giving? What's in it for them? If they have a foundation, obviously they want to give it to a charity, but we've had sponsors give to both sides, and not some require that tax receipt and some don't.
Yes. Okay, great. No, that's really, really helpful. I notice a lot of people often ask me, they say, we found companies that we've done the homework, the values are aligned. And so we've reached out to their website, we've contacted them through their email, their phone number, and we get a pat answer like, oh, we already have a particular sponsored program, and we can't give money to everybody, so go away. It's basically what you run into. Yeah. So my guess is that it's the creating the friendships that you were also discussing, but a lot of people get discouraged right off the bat because it looks like the doors are closed. What would you say to them?
The door is never closed. So they have money to give away. Okay. Your sponsors have money and they want to give it away. And if you're not able to get it, it's because you haven't been able to show that clear alignment. You haven't taken the time to develop those relationships. Everything is about relationship building. And that is the number one thing that everybody needs to know. We live in a world where, nepotism is real, and it's not a negative thing, because we are in a chaotic society of so much information. Everybody's got a social media account, but it doesn't mean anything, right? What somebody posts online might not actually equate to what's happening behind the scenes in that organization or that individual's lives. And so it's up to you to be able to form that relationship beyond just, look at my social media, I have lots of followers, and, get to know the individual on the other side. And then realize that we have human connections that really need to be made. And there's probably a lot more that you have in common than just your organization has money, my organization needs money. And also you have to go into it with, holding true to your heart. Reciprocity is a term that, gets thrown around, but it is truly a real thing that will help you get further faster when you actually go in wanting to give instead of receive. And that is another thing that most organizations that are doing fundraising for their charities, it's like, well, just give, you have the money. That's not what this is about. It's about forming those relationships, letting them know what you're going to give them, because that organization that's giving money, they need to also get things back. And it might not be the things that you think. For example, like, I'm going to splash your name all over our social media. I'm going to do 10 posts, or I'm going to have your logo at our event. Organizations want more than that these days. And if that's all you think you're going to give them, then, they're just going to go next. Like, what can you give their employees? How do you want to see their organization grow as a result of what you're doing with your organization, your charity? So it's important to really move into every relationship, wanting to give more than you want to get back. And when you do that, people will see that you are, you're ethical, you're values driven, you're authentic, you're sincere. And that's where we've seen the money flow.
Amazing. And one follow-up question on that, which was, you gave an example of, like, what do their employees need as far as, finding ways to give back to the company. Can you come up with any other examples off the top that are other ways you found to give back to the companies?
Yeah, so that's the nice thing about having the charity and the for-profit. So our for-profit runs several programs. We have a corporate program that we work with companies. We'll train all of their employees for an entire year on how to reverse their chronic diseases, improve their mental health. So that is something that we can give back to the company. So we say, hey, would you be willing to donate to our charity? And then we would love to do, free training or paid training at a discount. It
Mhm,
doesn't always have to
mhm,
be free what you're giving.
mhm,
So our program's $25,000 to work with a small business and a medium-sized business, and we can offer that to them at a discount. And that's
mhm,
beautiful thing that can happen when you have the for-profit and the nonprofit. You can do that as well, strictly with a charity. Offer your services back to their employees, and maybe even include the employees' families. That's something that we
mhm,
do, because it's one thing to just train the individual in the organization, but they have family members that also need those same services. So include that, and that will show that you care more than, about that organization's family. You care about the greater, extended environment that, impacts that individual in that
mhm,
organization. So for example, we teach people how to eat real to heal. Well, if I'm teaching 50 CEOs that are working 80 hours a week, they probably have a spouse at home that is managing the household, and
mhm.
they are managing the cooking. So it doesn't make sense for me just to teach you know, the senior managers in that organization. We need to teach their husbands and wives who are at home taking care of the children, or, busy themselves. And so we do that, and it's amazing. And that's just adding value. And anybody can add value to anything that they're offering.
I love that. And I really appreciate that because I think that gives people so many more ideas, thinking out of the box. And this is a lot what I teach in my Meta Mindset program, which is thinking out of the box and thinking organically instead of by this formula that is forced upon us. Like if you don't have 100,000 followers, and if you don't, run advertisements for a company all over the place, and if you don't, like, there's no other way to do it. But going from your gut, creating those relationships, and then being creative. I think that's another thing I really love about social entrepreneurship is I meet some of the most creative people in the world doing this kind of work, because it does take innovation. It does take new ideas. And that's what's really going to change the world and create sustainable change, because we're thinking outside the box every day. Your idea of, oh, we have a 6-month education program for people who can then go and teach it themselves. But, then we're going to they're part of our family forever now. It's not like they're just done and gone. That's that creative kind of thinking that goes farther than just a formula on paper. Okay, so I want to switch gears really quick because I want to talk more about some of the other work you're doing right now. And believe it or not, everybody, this lady also has plant-based Whole Foods restaurants that are both social and environmentally friendly. Oh my word, please tell us a little bit about your restaurants and what they're called.
Definitely. So we have a collection of restaurants called the Green Mustache, and they are 100% organic, plant strong, plant-based, whole food restaurants. So we source from our local farmers who grow the food, pick it, drop it off at our restaurant 7 in the morning. We then, clean it, and then we serve it to our customers. Then we take the food scraps, and which we don't have any food waste because we make it fresh every single day. But we have the food scraps, the butts of the lettuce and the carrots, and then we give that to the local farmers that they can feed it to their chickens and their pigs. And, so it's a cradle to cradle operation. And we've been doing that for 10 years now. We have built multiple restaurants, closed some restaurants during COVID, but it's an amazing organization, and we provide the healthiest food to our communities through our restaurants. We love what we do.
Wow. Wow. I just want to like run up to BC right now and try one of them out because as most people know, I'm vegetarian. And so I love finding new alternatives to great eating. I love to eat. So just because you want to eat healthy doesn't mean you have to eat stuff that you hate. You can train your taste, but also you can make really good food. I think we were talking about this the other day, vegan, vegetarian, whatever it is. And I love that you're giving back to the farmers. So whatever the vegetable scraps. So here's a question. So I think a lot of people would say, but it's so much easier and takes no energy to just throw this stuff in the dumpster. from your restaurant, do you find it costs you more to dispose of it responsibly, or how did you find that solution?
Yeah, and that's a great question because we were part of a survey for the federal government who wanted to do a survey on waste, food waste, because it is a major contributor to greenhouse gas emissions and other environmental challenges globally. And when they looked at our numbers, they're like, you don't have very much food waste. And I was like, well, no, we don't. We portion our food correctly for our customers. We make it fresh every day. We don't have to ever overproduce anything. And so they looked at our numbers and they disqualified us from the study because we were considered an outlier, which I thought was funny. But the farmers come and pick up, the waste from us, or if we're going back home, we can drop it off on the way. We don't have to go out of our way for this. When we do programs, for schools, we're able to make meals for schools and work with the schools and educate them. And we're not going out of our way to do this because we work directly within our local community. It does not cost us more. And in fact, our costs are much less because it's really, really heavy. Food waste is heavy because it's so wet, it's so dense. And so restaurants that are overproducing or they're not managing their food correctly, they're paying so much to dump their waste in the garbage. And we're lucky because we have a local composting facility and they want our food waste, our organic food waste, because it gets turned into soil. That's another part of our program is we take it directly to the composting site. It gets turned into soil in 14 days. Beautiful, brown, amazing, delicious soil through the commercial compacting system. And so these are all the ways that you can minimize your operation cost is just by working with other local organizations that want your waste. So it actually ends up being cheaper for you.
Wow, that is so incredible and so motivating. Okay, so we know now what you do with your preparation waste, like the carrot peels, whatever. And then what about, I know you say you make it fresh every day, but what do you do with any excess food or even garbage food?
And we don't get that because, like I said, we portion our meals correctly. If a customer was like, "Oh," we've never had a customer say, "I'm still hungry," and we've never had a customer leaving saying, or saying, "I'm so full." So we portion everything. Like our customers clear their plates. It's beautiful, and we have virtually no food waste from
Wow.
that. Plus, we're turning over our food 2 to 3 times a day because we're not about making food, freezing food, having it last for 5 days. So we make what we know we're going to sell that day. We don't try and overproduce or underproduce. And if we're out of something, we have other menu items, so we don't try and cater exclusively to the individual the way that a lot of restaurants will do that we're like,
Mhm.
we're never going to get out of it. It's okay to run out of a product that creates demand. And our customers have no problem with saying, I'm going to choose something else. And then this helps us to manage our food waste. But again, because we're producing every day, multiple times a day, it's perfect. We never have food waste.
Wow, this is such a motivational thing. And I know that some of the, local restaurants that I frequent that I do know try to use their food responsibly and their waste responsibly. And they do run out of things. And, I always find that a little bit annoying. But now that I understand that there's a reason behind that, so that they're avoiding excess waste, avoiding excess cost. So if someone runs out of something, we can be excited for them at their restaurant and be like, "Oh, awesome. I can order something else. I'm so glad you guys aren't wasting all that food," which is absolutely beautiful. Wow. So the other thing I was just going to come back to was this whole enterprising nonprofit model. So with the restaurants, are those just the for-profit, or is there a nonprofit element? I know it's all connected as well, but
Yeah. So I know an org chart would probably be really helpful right now, but the charity also works with the Green Mustache chain of restaurants as well. So we have a holding company, and underneath our holding company, we have all our other companies. And then off to the side, we have our charity that works with all of the companies. And the way that works is, for example, let's say a school calls us and they want us to run a program. We can design a program where we bring in beautiful fresh food, teach the students how to chop food, cook the food, turn it into smoothies, dips, salad dressings, and how to use whole foods so that they can reverse chronic diseases. So they're getting the science education, they're getting the hands-on education with being able to do food prep, they're getting to eat the food afterwards. And a lot of schools can't pay a lot of money to any organization to come in. You know, maybe you're making like $250, and but by having the charity, we can offset some of those costs so that we can pay people well to go out there and do the education, pay myself well to go in and do that. You know, we can get the food costs wholesale because they're coming through the restaurant. So the charity and the restaurants work together. We often get hired to go into hospitals and teach physicians and nurses and the dietitians in the hospitals all about reversing chronic disease. Now, a lot of the times they don't have the budget to do that. So we can have the charity offset some of the costs that way, or they can donate to the charity and then we'll come do it you know, that way. And then whatever got donated to the charity, we can use that as a scholarship for a nutrition and detox program for, let's say, a local BIPOC member. And so everything works together that way. So that we don't have one organization that is in a deficit as the result of wanting to serve other individuals and organizations who may not be able to afford our services.
Wow, that's so incredible. I just love it. So two things. So first of all, tell us so you're on this show, you're on your local stage, but you're also on the global stage.
Mm-hmm.
So how can people participate in what you're doing? In particular, how can they be part of your education program or learn how to educate others around the reversing chronic diseases?
Right. So we have two main programs. One is our Eat Real to Heal program. And that is if you have a chronic disease or mental health condition where you're currently taking medications or need to be put on medications, you're maybe facing surgery, you're probably not working as a result of your chronic disease. You know, it's important that you just do the work, reverse that chronic disease, because you've got this whole amazing life to live. You have so much energy within you that just needs to be created through the food, and then you can go out there, achieve anything you want. So let's reverse your chronic disease. So that would be our Eat Real to Heal program. It's very affordable. And again, if you cannot afford to do the program, let us know, because you can fill out a very short application. You don't need to show us your tax return to be able to get a scholarship or anything like that. You know, we're going to trust that, you know, you're on a fixed budget. So do that program. And we work with you. We coach you every single week for life in that program to make sure that you're healthy and your family's healthy and reversing their chronic diseases as well. Then the second program, yeah, that's a beautiful program. And then the second program is what most people usually will bump themselves up to that program when they've reversed their disease, they're back at work, they're making money, they now want to help other people do the same. So then you can sign up for our nutrition and detox coaching program. That's a 6-month program where the first 3 months you learn the art and science of reversing chronic disease. And so you can teach it to others. Then the next 3 months, I teach you how to create a business from scratch and launch it. And so I've created multiple 6-figure businesses and 7-figure businesses. And so I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that, including writing the business plan, creating the organization, launching it, getting your first clients. So that's the second part of that program. And yeah, that's our nutrition and detox coaching program.
Wow. And for all of our viewers and listeners, you can look in the notes here to see how to contact Nicolette and her program. It's scrolling here at the bottom. It's also in the notes. And if you're driving and listening to an audio podcast, you can always just reach out to me directly. The email's on my website, so contact@annscottlin.com. Thank you so much, Nicolette. What I'm so excited about is this is part 1 of part 2. We have never done a part 1 and part 2, but when I met her, I said, we're doing a part 1 and a part 2. So I really wanted this first half to be about the work you're specifically doing. And the next half, if you all will stay tuned next week or listen to part 2, if this is already aired, is going to be more of a shoot the breeze chat, talk about other informational, motivational decisions you can make to become a social entrepreneur, and how is the big question. And Nicolette has so much experience about that. We're going to talk a little bit more probably about nonprofit, for-profit enterprises with a nonprofit arm, et cetera, what that looks like and how useful of a model that is. And also please send us any questions or emails. We will write you back. If you only get to see half the show, shoot me an email there or reach out to Nicolette on her website, So thank you, Nicolette. We're going to do part 2. And to all of you, thank you so much for tuning in and watching. We really appreciate your support. Please help keep us on the air by subscribing to the channel, liking, and also if you would like to donate to this effort, or if you know a guest who would be an amazing guest here, please let us know and share it if you know other people who would benefit from learning about social entrepreneurship. Again, you can also go to the website www.globalsocialpreneurs.com. So thank you so much. Tune in and hear us for part 2. Have a wonderful day. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Hi, I'm Ann SCOTTLIN. Are you one of those people who always wants to aim higher? Would you like to increase your profits and your personal fulfillment at the same time? And wouldn't you love to make a greater impact in your business and your life? If your answer is yes to any of those, find out more and send me a message at annscotland.com/special. I would love to work with you.